We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
Mike, before the show, we were running through some of the best college game day hype songs that have been run by ESPN and the like over the past few years. Can we start with 2018? 2018 was Imagine Dragons, Natural. That was electric.
I like every Saturday, I felt like I was sending you Snapchats of me screaming, "You're a natural," too. It was great.
When they played that, even in the commercials, you're just like, "You're a natural," and it just everyone's just light. You know, that's the song needs to be. You need to light the fuck up when that song hits. What are some other your favorites?
One of my favorites was Silver Scrapes. I think it was back 2013, actually. I just looked it up. It was
that
deep, but that one really hit. But this year's, they just announced, that's why we're talking about it, is Run It by DJ Snake. It's
not it.
It's
okay,
solid, but it doesn't compare to the all-time greats. If we're talking about, obviously we're talking about the Hall of Fame today, it's not going to be a Hall of Fame ESPN College Game Day song. That's for damn sure.
No. I think the other thing that Quinn mentioned is producer Mike Quinn, who's back there without a mic, but he's there. 30 Seconds to Mars, Walk on Water. I think that was, we listened to that one a little bit before. I was a big fan. We sound kind of like pieces of shit for this. I feel like we sound like white pieces of shit for this.
I mean, we have a vested interest in how good these songs are because...
I feel like the DJ Snake one's
because we're going to hear them
though.
1,000 times.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it could grow on me. It's because I feel like
it better.
It's going to have to because we're going to be live 95 of College Game Day. That's a great way to start. I got pretty jacked up for this, and that's just not the smelling salt, so I'm excited. Hall of Fame players on every single team. I'm glad we did this. When you originally pitched this idea, I wasn't super sold on it. I feel like, so before we get into this, I personally kind of hate how the NFL does the Hall of Fame.
Really?
By how automatically putting in players every single year. Like they don't, like, I feel like when you automatically set that you are going to put players in every year. Baseball doesn't do that. Like baseball will go for like multiple years, like so no one's going in.
That's fair.
I think NFL, the fact that like there's like a minimum that goes in every year is kind of absurd because then you just end up putting people in. Like you're just like forcing people in every year.
But then, so baseball, so I like it because it doesn't give football writers a heightened sense of self-importance. If you look at baseball writers and how they like act as if they're the gatekeepers to history, how they're voting for and like intentionally not voting for guys who took PEDs or whatever, making political statements with their votes. It puts too much. It gives them too much power.
Yeah,
I like 5 guys every year. It's 5 guys, right?
Yeah, it's 5. At least 5, but more people go sometimes.
5 guys every year. I like that. I'll just say I like that more.
I don't. I personally don't. I think putting in 5 guys every year is kind of dumb. Like this upcoming year, before we get into these, like I think the people who are eligible: Steve Smith Sr., Anquan Bolden. I think there's I think the Vikings tweeted out Chad Greenway.
Oh no. Okay, so that was what I was going to bring up. It was goddamn Bleacher Report has this whole list of people, and then adds Chad Greenway to the mix. Which
he might get in though.
I was going to say it's nice to see that Chad Greenway is running Bleacher Report social media now. Nice to see he got a job after football.
But here's my take. I wasn't immediately like, there's no way he gets in. Like they let fucking anybody in that thing.
If Zach Thomas isn't in yet, who's like the quintessential, I don't want to say that type of linebacker, that was going to be racial in nature, but like the quintessential rack up tackles but not valuable tackles guy at linebacker, if he's still not in, Chad Greenway is definitely not fucking getting in.
What's your take on Steve Smith Sr.? I want him in. I just love him as a person. I mean, the fact that we've meeting him and talking to him, I think he's also I think the all-time scrimmage yards leader in the NFL.
Oh, scrimmage yards is the worst stat, but okay.
And you're going to say the Hall of Fame's not looking at that?
They probably are.
They showed up for that Eagles guy that let in. No hate on the Eagles guy. It was like the tallest receiver to ever play or something. Well, he's like 6'8". The Carmichael. Okay. Carmichael gets in. I never watched him play. He played in like the 70s or something. But they showed his stats on why he got in. It's like franchise yards leader. It's like, okay, like this is the NFL Hall of Fame. Like where does he rank compared to all the other receivers in the NFL? Yeah. But anyway, we're off the bashing here. Let's go ahead and jump to. I always say jump. Let's go ahead and get to The NFC North. We're going to start with your Packers, your Green Bay Packers.
Let the people know also that we're doing this because we're recording early.
Oh, that's right.
Scheduling conflicts. And so we will get to all the recap from this past weekend's action.
Yeah. I'm actually going to in Nashville. So the reason we have the scheduling conflict, I'm going to in Nashville, the NCAA summer meeting for all the awards and the awards list and stuff. So I'll be there, the Maxwell, all that stuff, which would be cool. And you're what, PTO or?
I'm going to Brady Quinn's charity golf event.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Very cool. Update also on the rebrand, August 23rd, official. It's ready. We're ready. We're a couple pieces away. Why we're talking songs too is we're trying to figure out what that opening song's going to be. It's not going to include a burp. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be live. I'm excited, man.
I vote Puff Daddy's Bad Boy for Life.
If we could use that, I would be down. Yeah. The other thing I want to mention before we get into this too is we're going to be in Champaign, Illinois, August 28th, week 0, in the press box.
Where I grew up. I went to high school in Urbana, and I grew up in Mahomet, which is outside Champaign, but those are all very close to each other.
We're going to do some social media around that. We're going to be there. We're going to plan out what bars we're going to be at because we're definitely going to be at bars.
Joe's. Maybe New Cam's, but probably not. Probably heard it sucks.
All right. Well, we'll figure it out when we get there. Let's start with your Green Bay Packers here. Who on the current Green Bay Packers roster do you feel needs to be in the Hall of Fame conversation?
All right. So I broke it up. I have 5 different categories here. Maybe 5's too many, but I have
way too many.
I have lock. I have needs a bit more. So that would be a guy towards the end of his career needing to like extend it and play. Who would be a guy that fits into that? Maybe like 4 or 5 more years of quality play. We'll get to them when we get to them. Great start. On pace. If they keep going at this pace, they'll be Hall of Famers sort of guy. Long shots, maybe guys who like in the middle of their career who really need an uptick or something, but are maybe in the conversation right now. And the close but no cigar. That would be guys towards the end of their career where it's just great players, Hall of very good, don't think they're Hall of Famers. So that's how I broke it up.
Can we just kill those last 2?
No. What do you want in the last 2? I mean,
I don't want long shot or close no cigar. Who cares? I want guys who are either need a bit more, a lock, or great starter on pace.
Okay.
Close but no cigar or the Chad Greenways of the
I'll just say the last 2 is just no.
Yes, exactly.
Not in.
All right.
So we
Green
got
Bay
4
Packers.
categories.
Who are your
Green Bay Packers.
Who's in the conversation?
Aaron Rodgers, lock that. Devontae Adams, David Bakhtiari, Jair Alexander. I threw in Elgton Jenkins and Kenny Clark. Those were the long shots. That's why I have the long shots. Those are guys who are hot starts to their career. I think both are very much long shots. I think David Bakhtiari needs a bit more. Devontae Adams and also the need a bit more. I don't think either of them ultimately get in. Jair Alexander would be in the great.
You don't think Devontae Adams gets in?
I don't think so. You think about the logjam that's going to happen at wide receiver here coming up with this group of guys. The amount of wide receivers I put down on this list is kind of insane. I'm interested in that we're going to go through here. There's a lot of guys that are in the conversation. Devontae just didn't start off hot enough. I mean, he didn't really blossom until year 4, something like that with the Packers. So I think him and Bakhtiari need a bit more. Jay Alexander, I would call him on pace, but he's 4 years. This is year 4 in his career. He's on pace, but
it's also such a volatile position.
Exactly. A lot of things can happen since then in the upcoming year. So
my comments on that.
That's how I would settle those.
Aaron Rodgers, obvious lock. Put the jacket on him now, regardless of whether or not he wins another championship. I would throw Devontae Adams honestly in this on pace tier.
Ooh,
I agree that he started late, but I think if he can maintain, this, if he can be, I know it's hard to be Julio Jones, but if he can be a top 3 receiver as long as Julio Jones has, starting from last year and the next 3 to 4 seasons, that would be, I think, putting him in the conversation or firmly in the conversation. David Bakhtiari is going to get in. The offensive line stuff is an atrocity in terms of the Hall of Fame voting. And David Bakhtiari is one, super notable. In addition, from a notoriety and awards and people know who he is standpoint matters. And that matters when you're voting for this, kind of not superficial, but high level award for Hall of Fame. And I do think he also has the stats to back it up. PFF obviously is big on David Bakhtiari. He's been one of the best, if not the best, pass protecting offensive tackle over the past 5-10 years. I mean, that's how good he's been. So I think David Bakhtiari and Rodgers, I would call the closest in this to being locks.
I would say Bakhtiari's closer than Adams.
Yeah.
Because of the competition there. He has 2 first-team All-Pros, 3 second-team All-Pros. He's obviously gotten that recognition via the media. Adams, he only has 2,000-yard seasons.
Fair.
And now, 2 very close, 997-yard seasons. But I will say the thing about Adams, he came out young. He's only 28, has years left. So if he plays into his mid-30s, high level, then we'll talk. But Bakhtiari, only 29. I agree. Bakhtiari's closer.
I think that's good discourse. That's good discourse around the Packers. Let's go Vikings now. Vikings, you have listed here. Go. You read this off. You have Justin Jefferson on here. Is he already on a pace, or what is this?
We weren't going to talk about rookies or guys just finishing their first year. You need to see it for more than that. But I mean, 1,400 yards. Hard to call that fluke. Like
I just don't want to bring up gold jacket around Justin Jefferson right now. As good as he was last year, I just feel like it's kind of fucked.
Daniil Hunter, in the mix. I don't think he's. I wouldn't even call him on pace. But the thing is, he's still 22. Or what is he? He's still, I think he's
25, 26.
26 now. So he's still extremely young. If he plays for a decade more, he will rack up a lot of sacks in his career. I mean, the last 2 years he played, he had 14 and a half sacks. So yes, the PFF grades would not support a Hall of Fame candidacy, but again, still young. Patrick Peterson.
Lock.
I think it's a lock. Him, Richard Sherman, 2 best cornerbacks the last decade. We're obviously not going to talk about Sherman because he's not on a roster, but lock up both those guys. Those are Hall of Famers. Eric Kendricks, Harrison Smith. You got a lot to go. I think Kendricks was too far behind the 8 ball with the slower start to his career. I think Harrison Smith could, but that's a guy who's going to need longevity on his side to do so. He's going to need to play until like he's 34, 35. He's 32 right now, but already is past his peak. I mean, in terms of grade wise. So he'd be in the consideration, but he'd be in that need a bit more category.
What about Dalvin Cook?
I don't think I put any running backs on here. But no, I put
Dalvin Cook's definitely on pace.
Yeah, I'd say Dalvin Cook's on pace, but now
pace is tough at running back.
That's the biggest thing with running backs is pace is so tough. I think the only one that really has
Frank Gore.
Is Frank Gore still in the NFL?
Yeah, he is, right?
Is he?
I don't know.
I don't think he is. But I think Derrick Henry kind of right now is like with a 2,000 yard season. He's the one who in this group right now that I would say is there on pace.
I think the fact that Eric Kendricks and Harrison Smith are in the conversation again speaks to like just how open the Hall of Fame can be sometimes. Because I think they will be in consideration, especially Harrison Smith. Yeah. He has that notoriety. He has been, the best safety in the NFL at one point. Especially from PFF grades. I think he won Defensive Player of the Year from PFF one season a few years ago. So I do think that Harrison Smith is more in the conversation than Eric Kendricks. But Kendricks is a damn good linebacker. I just don't think he's Hall of Fame caliber. He's not.
Harrison Smith won the Dwight Stevenson in 2017 because Sam decided that.
The PFF Dwight Stevenson. That's right. All right. Chicago Bears. You have listed here Allen Robinson. I'm not going to read that second name. He's not in the conversation. Eddie Jackson and Khalil Mack.
All right. The second name was Roquan Smith.
There's just no way.
Yeah.
There's just no way.
I agree. I mean,
he's not even in the he's not even like near the conversation.
Okay. I'm just saying. Allen Robinson has now wish he would have played for any real quarterback, but now maybe he is. Maybe he will be with the Bears for a while. Another guy who's still young, only 27. I wouldn't call him on pace, but he's a great start.
I would say Allen Robinson's going to be that guy when we're both 40 and still single on the banks that we say Allen Robinson's not in the Hall of Fame but should be. When those tweets come out and they're like, who's not in the Hall of Fame that should be? Allen Robinson's going to be one of those guys because he was that good. Yeah. But he's never going to have the numbers or the stats or the notoriety. I mean, he has the notoriety, but he's never going to have the fame and the all-pros to really get in, especially, and I think you brought up a good point. There's such a log jam at wide receiver. There's going to be so much talent banging on the Hall of Fame door to get in to where the Allen Robinsons of the world are just going to fall out.
Yeah. Eddie Jackson, I wouldn't even call him on pace right now.
No, sir.
The one big year hasn't lived up to it. Since then, Khalil Mack.
Lock.
I think lock. I'm not sure he needs to play anymore. I think Khalil Mack would be in the Hall of Fame. I think that's how good he's been over the course of his career. Now, it would be a short career. It would be like a Patrick Willis-esque sort of candidacy. But, I mean, Khalil Mack's going to have some more good years ahead, so I'm not too worried about that. He's a lock.
Yeah, I would say Khalil Mack is a lock. Getting that Defensive Player of the Year, he's been one of the, if not the best player at his position for multiple years. I think Khalil Mack, lock. Detroit Lions.
There were some slim pickings for some teams here.
You're telling me the team projected to have the second fewest wins ahead of the allegation-laden Houston Texans doesn't have a ton of Hall of Fame talent?
Doesn't have a lot of future Hall of Famers now. Lions great. Adrian Peterson is probably going to go in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
From last year. But he's currently a free agent. I think he's going to retire. Maybe he's not. I don't know. Frank Ragnow, good start to his career. A top 5 center in the NFL right now, pretty comfortably. In the sort of argument for best center in the NFL. If he can keep that up for the next 5 to 10 years, then yeah. But long way to go still for him. He's a long way out.
You put Roquan Smith on here and didn't put like Trey Flowers for the Lions. Like Trey Flowers is a better candidacy than Roquan Smith.
That's no.
Okay. All right. Agree, disagree.
It's because it's
Roquan's still young. Yeah.
And it's
okay.
top 10 pick.
Fair.
Top 10 pick. You play well.
The prestige.
Like put Devin White on here too, because it's like top 5 pick, top 10 pick. You play well, even close to well.
Yeah.
Like people.
There are people who think Devin White's still the best linebacker in the NFL
well, I was
right
gonna
now.
say Devin White's going to be, if he even puts together a solid career, is going to have a better Hall of Fame candidacy than Levante David on his own team. Even though Levante David, I'm going to say, should be a lock on this, but we'll get to that one. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
They're next. The Bucs are next.
Okay,
the Bucs are next. You got Tom Brady, lock. Do we even have to fucking have the conversation? Rob Gronkowski, lock. That's obvious. Then you have Mike Evans. I'd say, again, if it weren't for this logjam at receiver, I'd almost be willing to have a little lock conversation around Mike Evans. He's been dominant. I don't think why,
lock, but
I think Mike Evans might be one of the more underrated receivers in the NFL.
Yes.
Like, am I high?
7 straight years of 1,000-yard seasons. And
I might tweet
never
that
been done before in NFL history like that. Now, in this day and age, obviously the receiving stats are different. I don't think anyone's ever at any point considered him a top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. But at some point, consistency has to win out. And he's only 27 with 7 straight seasons of 1,000 yards. About to turn 28. But that, to me, how many more? 3 more 1,000-yard seasons? If he goes 3 more 1,000-yard seasons, I'd call him a lock in a row. 10 straight 1,000-yard seasons start your career. That's a lock.
Yeah. No, I agree. The other players you have listed here, Tristan Wirfs, probably too early. On pace because he had the best rookie season we've seen from a tackle ever. Sure. Ali Marpet, no. Ndamukong Suh, he has the
that one's a good conversation.
Yeah, that one's interesting. I'm not, again.
I don't think he'll get in first ballot because people hate him. And rightfully so. I mean, he seems, from all his on-field antics, he's a dick on the football field. I don't know him off the football field, not going to speak to that, but on the football field, it seems like dick. But the dude was one of the most consistent and healthiest defensive tackles, I mean, we've ever seen. He played over 900 snaps every single year for like first 8 years of his career. The dude did not come off the field. Never elitely dominant, never like close to the Aaron Donald tier, but I think he's got a shot. What were my 2 other categories that you made me delete? He's in one of those. He's in the close but no cigar right now, but I think after a ring, has the notoriety. I think he ends up getting in.
And when he does, it's going to be an exclamation point on why I think this Hall of Fame process is kind of bonkers. I don't think Ndamukong Suh was ever a Hall of Fame talent. Like, I don't. But again, it's like an interesting process that the NFL goes through. You have Vita Vea, JPP, Levante David, and Devin White. The only person I even want to have a conversation around, Vita Vea maybe because he's really, really good.
Yeah.
But Levante David's the only one who I think actually you're going to say he's a lock.
I'd say Levante David's a lock. He could retire tomorrow. He should be in. Vita Vea, nose tackles is just so tough to predict. They get hurt and they just can't hold that level of play at that weight. But Levante David, I'd say probably half his career he was a top 3 linebacker in the NFL. I think that's a lock. You look at this past generation of linebackers. Luke Kuechly, Bobby Wagner, Levante David. Like for the teens, the 20 teens. I think those are the 3 that you let in from that group.
Yeah.
I think they're all Hall of Famers.
No, I would agree with you. I think Levante David needs to another underrated player.
Yeah. Go ahead. Keep starting.
No, I was saying he's just an underrated player.
JPP, I'm going to say Hall of Very Good. I don't think he's Hall of Famer.
Hall of Very Good. I think I'm in the Hall of Very Good.
Love saying the Hall of Very Good. It's one of my favorite phrases.
All right. I mean, for perspective on Levante David, he's been one of the highest graded linebackers in the NFL for the better part of the past few seasons. And I do think that, looking at his grades, this past year, 78.8 overall grade, 88.2 in 2019, 76.1 2018, 90.5 in 2017. He's all 4 of those years excelled in coverage. And even back in 2016 has 74.0 PFF grade in coverage. Has never been a liability in coverage.
And I think the selling point to Levante David that doesn't get talked about enough, that guys like Bobby Wagner, Luke Kuechly never had to worry about. 4 or 5 different defense coordinators he played under? Playing like in Lovie Smith, Now Todd Bowles, like vastly different schemes, and he's still grading out an elite level like that. The fact that he's done that, I think, is
an unsung hero.
Yeah, we're really pumping up Levante David tires, but I mean, someone
should we get some Levante David jerseys? I don't know. New Orleans Saints. Yeah. You have Michael Thomas, Teron Armstead, Ryan Ramczyk, Eric McCoy, Alvin Kamara, Cameron Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, Malcolm Jenkins. Can I say something?
Yeah.
Only person on this list that I even feel that okay, maybe not the only person. The person I feel best on about this list making the Hall of Fame is Cameron Jordan.
Ooh, really?
I think Cameron Jordan. I think Kamara maybe.
I was going to say Jordan, I think maybe ends up in the Hall of Very Good.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You don't think he'll ever... defensive ends from this era, he's kind of in that second tier of...
That's another underrated player in the NFL.
Yeah, he really is. But I think he just might end up coming short because you got Von Miller, Khalil Mack, J.J. Watt, all locks from the past decade. Like, and then you have... There's some... Who else was on this list that was defensive ends that were like in that conversation? Or Chandler Jones is in that conversation. Chandler Jones going to have more sacks than him over the course of his career. So he just might be a little behind the 8 ball in terms of the logjam in his position. But I think he's deserving. I think he's in that. He's got a good case, but I still just think he's kind of on the outside looking in as it stands right now.
I think Lattimore is trending in the opposite direction.
Yeah, Lattimore, great start to his career. I wouldn't even put him in the on pace category, but he's obviously in the conversation. He's still a very talented dude.
I think Kamara could be a near lock situation for the notoriety aspect. I think you could argue
Kamara just needs health.
Yeah.
At this point, 8-year career of what he's done, he's in.
Anyone on this list worth the conversation?
Teron Armstead, the conversation's there, but man, if he just could have stayed healthy. If that dude, him, Ramczyk probably would fall into the on pace, but if Teron Armstead, one season over the past 5 where he's played 900 snaps, like he just misses so much time year in, year out and he's already 30 years old, that unless he really extends his career out to, Andrew Whitworth levels, like he's out. And then Malcolm Jenkins, Hall, very good, just a very good player, but it was too up and down over the course of his career.
Need to get to this here before we move forward. College football season is just around the corner. To celebrate, DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new players in the center of the action with $200 in free bets instantly if you bet $1 or more on a college football game. DraftKings Sportsbook is safe, secure, and reliable, located right here in the United States. So it's easy to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code PFF, that's PFF, to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any college football game. That's promo code PFF to get your free $200 in free bets instantly for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 years or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. We are on to the Carolina Panthers. You have listed only 3 names.
Tight group.
Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Brian Burns. Only player on this list that even makes sense to have a conversation for is Christian McCaffrey.
Yes.
Brian Burns is not even on pace. He's been good, but he's not even on pace. And DJ Moore, I wouldn't even argue is on pace.
Yeah.
He's been good, but is not on pace.
Yeah. Because what Moore tops out, is there any list in the NFL today that would put DJ Moore as top 10 wide receiver? That's like part of it. It's like, it's not only, I don't believe in just pure longevity. Like Frank Gore's Hall of Fame candidacy, yeah, he put up insane numbers and he's going to probably end up in the Hall of Fame. But if you were never
for that position, I think longevity matters. I mean, all position longevity matters, but like how long he's been in the NFL is kind of absurd.
If you were never that guy at your position, though, I struggle to call you a Hall of Famer.
You're not that guy.
He's not that guy. So, yeah, DJ Moore, if he's not, unless he takes, I mean, he could. He's 24. He could obviously still improve. Probably is still improving, but McCaffrey will have the leg up because of pure name recognition. Obviously, his father being an NFL football player, him being a big name, top 10 draft pick at running back, putting up big numbers. Obviously, the injury has to stay healthy, but yeah, I would put him at on pace if he, his 18-19 splits. What do you go for? Almost 2,500 yards between those 2 years rushing, 22 touchdowns on the ground. Obviously, a lot as a receiver as well, almost 2,000 yards as a receiver. That pace, 4 more years, he's probably in.
Would you call him a lock?
I wouldn't call him a lock at this. I mean, lock is the guy's in if he retires today.
It has to be a lock.
So he's not a lock.
No, he's not a lock. I wouldn't call him a lock either.
Yeah.
Atlanta Falcons. We're still in the NFC South here. Matt Ryan. Ooh, this is an interesting conversation around Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan, Calvin Ridley, Grady Jarrett. I wouldn't argue Ridley's on pace. I would not argue Grady Jarrett is on pace. I think Matt Ryan is the only one where you can start to have a conversation. Or where is he for you? He's not a lock. On pace is even an interesting conversation.
I think he's a lock.
A lock?
Now, he's going to play 2 more seasons. You would, think that's his contract. He has to play 2 more seasons with them. He plays 2 more seasons at what we've seen. He won an MVP, went to a Super Bowl, and was never, a very consistent career.
He's the Frank Gore of quarterbacks.
He was, he won an MVP, so he was at some point.
Yeah, he was.
There were
a
few years where he was a top 5 sort of quarterback. I think he's getting in.
I wouldn't call him a lock.
Because
I think it's bullshit that even some people think he's a lock. Matt Ryan was not a Hall of Fame quarterback. Matt Ryan is not and has never been a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Okay.
How many quarterbacks in this era? So think of the past 15 years.
Okay.
Would you rather have than Matt Ryan? A ton. At least 8, maybe 10.
Name the 8. There's no way it's 8.
I would have rather had late career Brett Favre.
Okay, well, Brett Favre's awesome.
I know. You got Manning. You have Brady, obviously. You have Rodgers. I think Phillip Rivers has been better.
You like Rivers better? They had very similar careers, I'd say.
Similar careers.
Except for Matt Ryan won an MVP and went to the Super Bowl.
I'd have to look at the numbers. The names are escaping me right now. Maybe I'm high. But I get. But I also think maybe I have too high of a prestige for the Hall of Fame. I don't know. Maybe Matt Ryan is a Hall of Famer because the Hall of Fame is the Hall of lame. Maybe the Hall of Fame is actually the Hall of good.
You just second grade insulted the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Lame. I don't know, man. I don't know. Just calling Matt Ryan a Hall of Famer just I feel like makes the entire Joe Montana's in the Hall of Fame. There needs to be 2 different halls.
Tiers. Okay.
You can't have Matt Ryan and Joe Montana wearing the same fucking gold jacket. That makes no sense to me. I don't know. They both have the same bust.
I feel
have the same. That makes no sense.
Okay. I'm just saying. I think he's gonna get in. He's gonna get in.
That's bullshit.
All right.
People are debating Eli Manning, but Matt Ryan's a lock.
Well, Eli Manning should not be in, but yeah.
No, I disagree. Eli Manning has a better candidacy than Matt Ryan.
All right, now we're okay. You put more weight on postseason performance.
I put a good amount of weight on postseason performance.
Okay.
Beating Tom Brady.
They scored 13 points they didn't score 20 in either of those 2 Super Bowls, or what was it? 20-13, 16-13?
Going.
No, they're the same score both times. Right?
Going and beating the 17-0 Patriots was dope, or 18-0 Patriots was dope.
Yeah, because the Patriots scored 13 points in that game.
Yeah, it was freaking Eli Manning riling that team. There's more to quarterbacking than just fucking
21-17
leadership
and 17-14.
You're gonna put the quarterback that crumbled away a 28-3 loss in the Super Bowl in the Hall of Fame? Might as well just throw out the entire thing. Just let anybody in. Fucking let Devontae Freeman in. Devontae Freeman's a Hall of Fame back. I don't know, man. I'm not with it. I'm not with it. Get off.
Your counterpoints have just been so out there.
All right. Anyway, NFC East. Washington football team will start. You have Terry McLaurin and Brandon Scherf.
Yeah, I was just searching for guys. I don't think either.
Maybe really. Ryan Fitzpatrick's actually the Frank Gore of the Hall of Fame. Talk about surviving.
Could be. McLaurin, I don't know if I'd call him on pace.
I don't think he's on pace.
I wouldn't say he's on pace. It's a great start to his career. You need a lot more to keep
Scherf
going.
Could get it because he got the pedigree.
Scherf, top 10 pick. What has he got? 1 All-Pro this past year, few Pro Bowls. He's still a ways away. And the thing about Scherf is he's really old. He came out redshirt senior. And so he might have 3 or 4 more years left. He's already 29. I wouldn't even call him on pace either. I don't think. We talk about the guards of this era. It's going to be Zach Martin, Marshall Yanda. Then now Quentin Nelson, who he's going to be going up against. And that's kind of how it ends up going in the Hall of Fame. You're like, who was he compared to the guys in this era?
Yeah.
And I don't think he's going to be in that mix.
Where would you rank Matt Ryan in this era? I think we have to have that conversation again.
Right.
Is he top 5?
The era. So
I would go back to 2005.
So
when was he drafted?
He
was drafted in 2008.
Breeze, Brady, Rodgers, Manning,
Russell Wilson,
Peyton, Russell Wilson, and Ben Roethlisberger. I'd probably say have better Hall of Fame candidacies. So 7th?
Yeah.
in that era? Is there anyone else?
Does the 7th or 8th best quarterback in the era make the Hall of Fame? My opinion is no.
Yeah, I mean, did win an MVP.
Great. I agree. That's like the best. Yeah. That's the best counter argument. He did win an MVP, and he's never been horrendous.
Yeah, it's like you're debating between him and Phillip Rivers.
Yeah,
who would be the other guy that you put there? MVP, kind of a tiebreaker there, and like going to the Super Bowl versus never going to the Super Bowl. So I think he gets a. We got to stop talking.
We have to stop talking about Matt Ryan. All right, New York Giants.
Yes,
you have Kenny Galladay with a question mark. You should throw more question marks behind these other names too.
Yeah,
Leonard Williams, James. This isn't a trash list.
Leonard Williams, James Bradbury. Their Giants don't have Hall of Famers. Sorry,
there's no Hall of Fame.
They were going to be on my long shot lists that I.
Well, the long shot list is dumb.
It's done.
I don't think the Giants.
Give everyone a little something. Okay.
Who's the best player on the New York Giants
right now? Gosh, that's a tough question.
Kenny Galladay. When healthy, but the hamstrings, man.
Probably my boy Julian Love. No. God, I'm trying to think. They really
James Bradbury?
Saquon for a respected position, but
yeah.
It's probably or Dexter Lawrence.
Fair enough.
Talk about first nose tackles, but it's like running back in a nose tackle, you know. It's not
Dallas Cowboys. Amari Cooper. Probably not a lock. I'm not going to say a lock. I love Amari Cooper, but I would say on pace.
Would you on pace? I don't think he's on pace.
Really?
Never.
I think I'm being biased.
Season.
I'm being biased. I've always liked Amari Cooper.
I love Amari Cooper. Never had a 1,200-yard season. Had that kind of lull with the Raiders where it was like, what the hell happened? Just the inconsistency.
The Raiders happened.
He's gonna have shedding that sort of inconsistent label. It's gonna be tough.
He needs to be the best receiver in the NFL for a couple of years.
He needs to really start lighting it up to get in the conversation. But yeah,
I would agree. That's fair.
He's going to be another odd man out of this just log jam of wide receivers that we're talking about.
Dak Prescott.
I'd say he's on pace just because you're a quarterback at the Cowboys.
Wow.
You know.
Wow.
Name recognition. That helps. But on pace meaning 10 more. You know, like he's so early in the quarterback life cycle compared to like all these other quarterbacks. Matt Ryan, 36, has a decade on him already. So,
Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, locks.
I'd say locks.
They played with the Cowboys, and they've been legit like at the top of every list for offensive linemen for a long time.
Yes, I'd say locks. Tyron kind of has the Tron Armstead thing of hurt every year, but I think people recognize that Tyron was the unquestioned best tackle in the NFL when he was healthy.
Yeah,
that I don't know if we're ever going to see that guy again, but. Yeah, he's been insane. So
the unquestioned best apparel sponsor for 2-for-1 drafts is Homefield Apparel, new partner for 2-for-1 drafts. This podcast here. It is a premium collegiate clothing brand out of Indianapolis, incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. Homefield is in the middle of Big New Saturday, season 2, where they launch a new school collection every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern time for 16 weeks straight. They just released Kentucky, Wisconsin, and Florida, but this Saturday we've got the Georgia Bulldogs. If you're going to be banging the table for JT Daniels this year, do it in some Homefield Georgia Bulldogs gear. Use promo code PFF and get 15% off your first purchase at homefieldapparel.com. That is promo code PFF for 15% off. Get ready for college football tailgate season. And we are on to the back end of the NFC East here. NFC East season. Philadelphia Eagles, Brandon Brooks, lock.
You think so?
Jason Kelce, lock.
Jason Kelce's lock. I'd say Brandon Brooks is a bit of a long shot.
Hall of Good?
Hall of Very. I mean, I don't even know if we'd put him in the Hall of Fame yet. A few good years.
Hall of Lane?
A couple good ones in Houston. Obviously, he's been excellent with the Eagles, but I just don't think he's going to have the breadth, and especially after injury. I'm not sure he comes back the same guy. So him and Brandon Graham, I think, get relegated to the Hall of Very Good. I think Fletcher Cox could get in. His peak was maybe not long-lived enough, but I think he has a chance of getting in. Zach Ertz, I don't think, is getting in, and Joe Flacco better not get in.
He's not getting in. I don't think Joe Flacco gets in.
Okay.
I don't think Darius Slay gets in either.
Yeah, I don't think Darius Slay does either.
Hall of Good. A lot of good players. I think Jason Kelce, though, is a lock. And I mean, maybe Brandon Brooks isn't a lock, but I do think he's been that. It's tough because he's been so talented, but also unhealthy.
He just doesn't have and the name recognition is going to hurt him.
Yeah.
It just was not a, what was he, a late third round pick coming out of Miami right up the road here. Not the not the U, the Miami of Ohio, Miami. So, and obviously being a guard, just never really got pumped up until too late in his career.
I'm dying laughing at one of the names you have on this next list.
All right.
Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson, I'd call a lock.
Yeah.
DK Metcalf on pace, but he needs to play a long time. And he's a freak of nature. To maintain that level of athleticism and health for as long as he needs to is interesting. Dwayne Brown.
Frank Gore tackles.
I don't know. Maybe the Frank Gore tackles.
About to turn 36. Has played 13 years in the NFL. All of them solid. None.
Yeah. Now he wants more money too, and Seattle's kind of icing him.
Well, he's 36, about to be 36. I don't blame him for icing.
Bobby Wagner, linebacker, lock. Gabe Jackson is a joke, and the fact that you put him on this list, the fact that you put him on this list,
I wanted to have a conversation, all right?
What conversation? What's the conversation around Gabe Jackson? He hasn't been a top.
How many more years does he have to play to get in the Frank Gore Hall of Fame candidacy? A decade more? He's 30. What if he plays 18 years?
If he plays till he's 45, I'll consider it. But there's just no way. There's no way.
All right.
Los Angeles Rams.
All of somewhat good.
All of okay.
all of above average starters.
Rams. Yeah, Andrew Whitworth, obvious lock. Name recognition, the consistency, all of that. 100%.
I think he deserves it.
Matthew Stafford.
If he's playing football, which he will be at age 40, because he turns 40 in December. If he's still healthy and playing football, and you hear Andrew Whitworth playing football at age 40, still well, it's going to be, one, fucking awesome to see. Two, I actually made a joke about that 4 years ago when he signed with the Rams. I'm like, he could pass protect until he's 40. And now he's about to be pass protect until he's 40.
Incredible.
He deserves to be in.
He's graded really well late in his career, too. Yeah. He has not, like, fallen off a cliff.
86.8 overall grade last year.
That's absurd. And the Cincinnati Bengals let him walk.
Well, I thought he was...
Quinn.
They thought he couldn't pass protect until he's 40. I did.
Meanwhile, the reports out of Bengals practice are like Joe Burrow's scared out of his mind back there. Have you just read some of those reports? Just a full, like, a little sidestep here. They're talking about the Bengals offense like they're scared out of their mind. Joe Burrow screaming at receivers, scared to get hit. Some of the beat reporters are saying the Bengals defense is just rising up. But if that's the report, I'll tell you right now, the Bengals defense did not get good overnight.
Lou Anarumo fighting for his job came to scheme this year.
This next conversation will be good. Matthew Stafford. No. You don't get Matthew Stafford and Matt Ryan. You better not get both.
Stafford's a decidedly worse career than Matt Ryan.
100%.
Like, decidedly. So
you could argue arm talent or in one play or one game. Maybe you want Stafford over Ryan. A handful of execs said that this past offseason in a number of polls.
I will say he could flip that sort of narrative. He's only 33, and he's going to obviously the best situation of his career. So if that changes.
I like the could flipped here.
So he could flip, but he's not even on pace. If he just continues this pace, the rest of his career, he's not getting him.
Aaron Donald, I don't know.
He was a lock. How many years into Aaron Donald's career was he a lock? That's a good question.
That is, how many years did you need to see it?
Probably 5 years, and we could have said Aaron Donald.
5 years, and he's in the Jamal Charles conversation of just like, say he like had a career-ending injury.
So his 5th year was when he had 113 pressures. After that, he just could have gone in.
Yeah. These past 5 years, 105 pressures, 80 pressures, 113 pressures, 102 pressures, 81 pressures. He's never had a PFF pass rushing grade below 92 since his rookie season in 2014. His level of dominance is understated at every time you bring him up, because you really can't speak to just how hard it is to grade this well for that consistently at his size. Again, I mean, the guy who's undersized at a pit or whatever, obviously his athleticism and stuff makes up for it, but man.
Can't touch him.
What he's done is absurd. Next one on your list here, Jalen Ramsey, pace.
Definite pace.
How many more recognition,
years? 5 years in.
I also think league respect matters. Like like the league would call him the best corner in the NFL.
So I think 3 more years of this level of play, and you can put him in, lock him up.
49ers, Trent Williams, George Kittle, Nick Bosa, and Fred Warner. I don't know if any of those are locks. Would you say Trent Williams is a lock?
Man, Trent Williams, he's in the conversation. He's kind of in that Teron Armstead where the health is a concern. But if he plays 2 more years, so what he signed that contract in, was it a 3-year deal he signed? I think it was 3-year. If he plays out this deal at the level of play we saw from him, he's in. He's obviously about to turn 33, but if he can play to 35 at this level, I think he's in. Kittle, I'd say, is on pace. Bosa, I mean, obviously after he just continues that rookie year, he would be on pace. And then Warner is close. I'll say he's close to on pace. He just really had a breakout this past year. So we'll see.
I do think there's a lot of really good players on the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes.
I wouldn't say any of them are Hall of Fame locks. I think Kittle, well on pace. Bosa, still very young.
Yeah, Kittle just needs to stay healthy. Honestly, yeah, he's getting in if he stays healthy.
Arizona Cardinals, to wrap up the NFC West here. A.J. Green.
Hall very good.
Hall very good. Yeah, I don't know.
He's not going to be. Sorry. Just don't.
He could, though.
Could. So, a decade almost of quality play. He was drafted 11. Only started to fall off, I guess, 2018, 2019. So maybe it was more like 7 years quality play. Average probably around 1,200 yards over that span. Going to get to over 10,000 receiving yards in his career. That used to get you in. I don't think it will, though. I just don't think he's going to make the cut, sadly. Sorry, Mike Quinn.
DeAndre Hopkins.
He's getting it.
Lock. I think DeAndre Hopkins lock. Kyler, no, not even on pace. He needs to. He's a flip person. He needs a flip. This whole start has been not good. I mean, it's okay, but has not been anywhere near the Hall of Fame conversation. J.J. Watt, lock. Chandler Jones.
Chandler Jones is going to be an interesting one because in terms of just sack production, I mean, he's going to be up there. He's going to have over 100 sacks. He's going to be. He could end up. He plays a few more years. He could end up top 20 all time sacks list. One Simeon Rice is 20th, 122 sacks. That's. If he gets into that range, I could see it, but he's going to need, he's 31 right now. He's going to need to probably play till he's like 34, 35 to really get in that conversation. So I could see on pace for a long career for Chandler Jones, but I wouldn't call him anywhere near a lock.
Yeah. The only locks on the Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt. A.J. Green, I think, is interesting. I think I understand why you're not calling him a lock, but I also think he's got the pedigree to potentially be like that guy. When he is eligible, a lot of people will be talking about A.J. Green.
Yeah.
We're on to the AFC North. Pittsburgh Steelers. Big Ben, lock. T.J. Watt, pace. Minka Fitzpatrick, not on pace.
I'd say probably on pace.
On pace?
Also, I mean, just like positional or franchise recognition of you're playing safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you're going to be talked about a lot more than if you're playing safety.
I hate that that's an argument, but it's
it
true.
is.
It's true. I hate that it is. I'm not saying it's not true. I hate that it is, but it's not true.
And 9 picks over the last 2 years with the Steelers, like that. If he can continue 4 picks a season, I think he'll get in. Now he's obviously only 3 years in his career. He's a long way to go, but I think the pace is there. All right.
Baltimore Ravens. The only player I put for the Baltimore Ravens was Lamar Jackson. But I think you could also include Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah.
Marcus Peters.
I wouldn't put even Peters on pace, I would say.
Really?
I don't think he's just kind of too inconsistent. He's not going to get a lot of love from reporters too.
Yeah.
If you've seen any of his interviews.
What about Ronnie Stanley? Ronnie Stanley, maybe another pace candidate?
Ronnie Stanley possibly pace, but he's tackles offensive line. Unless you're that guy at the position, longevity. Like unless you're Zach Martin, Travis Frederick. Unless you were the unquestioned top at your position for an X amount of time, you got to have 15 years. So
it's a very young team. It's a very young team with a ton of talent. Lamar, Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Stanley, their best players are still like very early in their careers. So anyone else there that comes to mind?
Calais Campbell
is
a tough one.
He's not on the. Is he on the Ravens again?
Yeah.
Oh,
he would be in the PFF Hall of Fame
for sure.
I give you that.
Dwight Stevenson Hall of Fame.
Dwight, yeah, for which we need to start up at some point, the PFF Hall of Fame. But real Hall of Fame, I don't think he gets in because he's kind of that tweener position where he's not going to have the stats.
Yeah.
Because he was on the interior
Hall
too
of
much.
Dominant, though. I mean, he's been dominant for a long time. Like very good for a long. He's been the Hall of Very Good and also like the Hall of Very Good and Consistent. Like he's had a long career. He's had a very good career.
13 years.
I don't know. Like
NFL.
That's that fringe Hall of Fame player where it's like I'd rather see Calais Campbell get in than Matt Ryan.
I'd hope he gets in. I hope Calais Campbell gets in. But friend of the pod. But
he's obviously a friend of the pod. Also best voice in football. That's a factor. Yeah. You want that Hall of Fame speech?
But so like here, Calais Campbell. Now they played somewhat different positions for a while. Calais Campbell did play on the edge, but Calais Campbell or Cameron Jordan. That's what I was talking about. Who are you going with, Calais Campbell or Cameron Jordan in that conversation?
I think I'll go Cameron Jordan.
Cameron Jordan. Okay.
It's tough though.
That one's tough.
All right, Browns. OBJ?
No, not on pace anymore.
Jarvis Landry.
don't even stop. Don't.
I think the only one that I have here is Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, I think, is not a lock, but he's on a Khalil Mack level
for
start.
Sure yeah, for sure pace. I don't think that one's necessarily even close. Denzel Ward could feasibly, needs to obviously improve. Nick Chubb, I think could get there. Health obviously going to be a factor there, but he's going to be a top 3 running back whenever he's healthy. That guy's a fucking alien. So those are the guys I would say.
What about the line? Wyatt Teller, Bitonio?
Bitonio would need. He's never been that dude again. Like he would need longevity. I don't think he's even on pace though.
Cincinnati Bengals.
And Jadeveon Clowney definitely not.
Yeah, no, not
Sadly.
a chance. That would be an embarrassment to the league.
Sadly.
An embarrassment to the hall. I can't believe I went on that rant about he wears the same jacket. It sounded like a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know who to put here. Lou Anarumo. I mean, this is a Zach Taylor,
the 12th man, the Bengals fandom.
Queen City,
we deserve to be
the Blind Pig, the bar across the street. I mean, I don't know who's in the Hall of Fame.
This one is a slim.
I put Joe Burrow, but he's not even on pace. He's not even, it's a joke.
I mean, Jesse Bates is probably their best player respective to their position right now. And 3 years in, I can't even call him Hall of Fame pace. So yeah, no dice for the Bengals. Sadly, they have the fewest Hall of Famers, right? They got one.
Who?
Anthony Munoz.
Oh, that's right.
I think that's it.
No Chris?
Not until he might make it as a contributor.
Oh, he's definitely going to make it as a broadcaster.
Yeah.
He's like multi-Emmy award winning, bro. You said probably? Are you going to get fired? He's definitely
You're in,
gonna
Chris.
make
I got you. I got your back. You're in.
You
into
don't
my
think
book.
he's going to make it?
Probably. No, you're in for football in my book too, Chris. There. What are you going to go that far?
I like that. There you go. There you go. There you go. AJ Green wouldn't retire as a Bengal if he was a Hall of Famer. That was that other thing. You ever read into like who you retired as and all that, and what you're going to go into the Hall of Fame as? All that.
Don't you not go into the Hall of Fame? Isn't that baseball? You go in with a team, but in the NFL, it's just you go.
Oh, you don't go in with a team?
I don't think you do.
Interesting.
Baseball, you do though. There's a sport where you do. I can't remember, but
AFC South.
Choose.
I put Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, and then AJ Brown. AJ Brown's not even. I don't even argue AJ Brown's on pace. He's just a really talented player right now, and he's young. But Derrick Henry, I would be well on pace. And Julio Jones is a lock.
Julio Jones is a lock. I think Henry doesn't need too many more years. I mean, the 2,000 yards and the name recognition. And obviously, he doesn't show any sign slowing down. So I think he's firmly in the on pace. Yeah, that's how I see it.
Anyone else on Tennessee you're feeling?
No, not particularly. Jeffrey Simmons, obviously, a good start to his career. Too young to say otherwise. The line, I mean, Taylor Lewan, very good tackle, not on Hall of Fame pace.
Danico Autry, kind of.
Very average defensive lineman. All very average.
Indianapolis Colts was an interesting one because everyone loves their roster, but
they don't have blue chip.
Yeah, I was combing through it. I don't really feel. I put Darius Leonard,
Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, probably a near lock, if not a lock. I mean, name recognition alone, I would say lock.
They went off of depth defensively for sure. Quentin Nelson, I'd say. I mean, lock. 4 more years and he probably gets in, sort of guy.
I don't even know how many more years he needs, dude.
Leonard.
If he got hurt, people would be saying he was like the next coming of fucking Jonathan Ogden, dude. I swear.
He's Larry Allen 2.0.
Yeah.
Or probably more 0.9, but maybe DeForest Buckner, but that's a big maybe. He needs another 8 years to really be
Calais Campbell and Cameron Jordan are going in over Buckner.
Yeah, but Darius Leonard, obviously the biggest one after Quentin Nelson. I think I'd call him on pace. T.Y. Hilton, just another wide receiver in this era left out in the cold.
Yeah.
Too many stars wide receiver.
Jaguars were another really, really tough team. I don't know. Well, I put Gardner Minshew as a joke, but I mean, Hall of Fame social media candidate, but
there's not.
Trevor Lawrence probably has the best chance of any player on the team.
Oh, I mean, quite easily. I don't think there's one that's even like close to pace. Like Josh Allen, been solid. I don't think he's even on pace. Miles Jack, solid. Wouldn't even say he's close to being on pace. It's like they got to step the shit up big time to be in the conversation. And I wouldn't call either of them in that realm. Sorry, Jags, kind of
rough.
Kind of
in the Bengals
unsurprising when they roster reset the way they've done.
Urban Meyer, probably the best candidate, Hall of Fame. All right. As we talk about Hall of Fame candidacy, long-lasting careers, you never know when to start thinking about life insurance. In these uncertain times, life is full of questions. Like, when should I start thinking about life insurance? Proud sponsor, Western Southern here. always sponsoring the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast. However difficult these times may be, Western and Southern can help you answer them. Backed by over 130 years of experience, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind. Western Southern Financial Group, life insurance, retirement, and investments. I also think it's kind of screwed that you are only eligible 5 years after you retire.
Why? No, I mean, you get 5 years and then until whenever. I know. I mean, I'm saying, why wait that long? Oh.
Why do you have to wait that long?
You got to let it settle. You got to let the whole carear.
But you don't want these. I think for coaches and
wash
stuff,
over you.
Is the same rule for coaches? You don't want coaches to die before they get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Isn't it in baseball? You're off once you die. If you die, you can't get in.
No way.
Isn't it?
No way. Is that a real thing?
I thought it was.
Quinn, you know?
Baseball has some weird fucking Hall of Fame rules.
If you die and you're not allowed to get in the Hall of Fame, that is kind of fucked. I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up. You're on to the Texans. Read off the Texans while I look up this atrocity if this is a rule.
I mean, Deshaun Watson on the field is on pace. Will he be on the field much the next decade? TBD. Laramie Tunsil, I think he's in that Ronnie Stanley tier. I think they both have very similar Hall of Fame candidacies right now, where it's like, good start, good job, not a decade away at least.
Before we get to the AFC East, I can't believe this is a rule. So if a player dies within the 5-year span, he's eligible only 6 months after his death, provided he meets the criteria.
There you go. What'd I say?
I just don't understand.
Baseball Hall of Fame takes themselves way too seriously.
I think that's kind of ridiculous. Am I reading this right? I might be reading it wrong. If a player dies within the 5-year span, he is eligible 6 months after his death. Oh no, okay. So maybe until if you die, it gets a little extra. You get to move ahead of the queue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. It's kind of fucked up. I feel like it's an interesting rule for the Baseball Hall of Fame. AFC East: Josh Allen, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. I put those names down for the Bills.
You put Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer.
I mean, they're good. They're good players. I was scrambling. Who won the Stephon Diggs? Tre'Davious White?
No, I mean, Tre'Davious White's probably has a more legitimate candidacy right now than Hyde and Poyer. Poyer, they're just not good. I mean, they're solid safeties. They're in the Gabe Jackson tier of safety. That's for damn sure.
What about Matt Milano? Matt Milano's in the Gabe Jackson tier of linebackers.
I think Tre'Davious White, I'd struggle to call him on pace, but I could see him getting there if his game steps up sort of thing. So Josh Allen, obviously, the pace that we saw last year would be on pace. Stephon Diggs, I think he's going to get lost in the shuffle unless he really turns it on.
Having a good candidacy.
Yeah.
Would you rather put Stephon Diggs or AJ Green in the Hall?
So he's going to right now AJ Green, but Stephon Diggs is only 27 is the thing. So depends on how long he sort of goes for, but he kind of got screwed when he was rightfully, I mean, like he himself was saying, I'm getting screwed by the fact that he's playing in an offense that wasn't really getting him the football there in Minnesota. So slow-ish start to his career, only 2,000 yard seasons with Minnesota, and then obviously led the NFL in receiving this past year. So if that's the guy we see for the next 4 years, then I think he can get in.
Miami Dolphins put the two corners, Byron Jones, Xavier Howard, with a question mark. I mean, they're good.
Xavier, I think Xavier's in the Tre'Davious White tier that we just talked about. I could see it.
No one else on their defense, though, is near it. And then offensively, it's so much young talent. The entire offensive line is like first, second, or third year players. Two, obviously, young player. Gaskin. I mean, it's all.
No one else is close.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else is close. Gesicki?
Don't even start with me.
All right. New England Patriots. Shaq Mason, I think, is a lock.
Stop.
Come on.
Lock?
Come on.
I could see him being on pace, but he's going to have to play for a lot longer.
He doesn't have the name recognition either.
Doesn't have name recognition. Dante Hightower, I could see getting in.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call him a lock, but he's.
What about the McCourty brothers?
What was the tier I had?
If you induct one, you have to induct them both?
He's on the fence. I think McCourty is another on the fence one.
Both?
Both are on the fence.
You're putting both in the same
And Gilmore probably ends up getting in. Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah. Oh, Gilmore's getting
Defensive Player of the Year.
At corner?
I think he gets in.
Yeah. Stephon Gilmore's a lock. The McCourty brothers.
Just Jason.
Just Jason.
I mean, excuse me. Just the other one. Not Jason. Devin. Just Devin.
Oh, just Devin.
Just Devin. Not Jason.
Damn.
Devin, fence. Firmly on the fence. Him and Dante Hightower. firmly on the fence right now. Could see it, but I don't think I'd put either of them in. I'd have to see who they're going up against. They're in the conversation.
Last one here in the AFC East.
And obviously there's an MVP on the Patriots roster. I don't think he gets in Cam Newton.
Yeah. Oh, no way.
No.
All right. New York Jets. This was a tough one. Steve Palazzolo will tell you Corey Davis is on pace. Marcus May was just me trying to put a name on this thing. And he's good. I'm not saying Marcus May's that good again, but like Hall of Famer.
Hall of Fame's just a different level. So they don't have a guy on pace.
Yeah.
They just don't.
No Jets player.
Sometimes it happens. Here. But I mean, they got their rosters up and coming, but there's no shame in not having an on pace Hall of Famer.
I wouldn't even call it up and coming. I'd say it's young. We don't know what's coming.
It's up.
All right, last division here before we break. Get to the interviews with Nick Rolovich and Neal Brown. Kansas City Chiefs. I think you have 3 locks here.
Yeah, I agree.
Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce.
Lock them in.
All 3 locks. Tyreek Hill, arguably the best deep threat of all time.
Where's Anthony Trash?
Where's Anthony Trash?
When you need him.
When you need him. No, but he's been really good. So is Travis Kelce. So is Patrick Mahomes.
He's the second best deep threat of all time. He's exceptional. But those two, Chris Jones and Tyrann Mathieu.
Pace?
Yeah, I'd say they're on pace. And it obviously helps when you're going to be on a preeminent franchise as long as they're on the Chiefs, they're going to be on a preeminent franchise because Patrick Mahomes is going to be there. So they're going to get talked about. So I think both those guys are on pace.
Yeah, I would agree. That's an easy roster to dissect. I think it's a polarized roster. They have obvious strengths, and then they have a lot of low end depth.
They're like them and the Rams. They have the unique roster building strategy that they're attacking.
Joe Tooney, maybe. He's better than Gabe Jackson.
Big maybe. He's better than Gabe Jackson. His Candace's better than Gabe Jackson. I'll say that.
Denver Broncos, Von Miller, lock. That's not even close. Von Miller's an obvious lock. Justin Simmons, maybe on pace.
Close. I wouldn't even call him on pace, but he's in the conversation. Long shot.
Anyone on offense there?
Melvin Gordon, long shot. Gonna need some more years.
Melvin Gordon's not a long shot. Melvin Gordon is not in the conversation. Melvin Gordon is not in the conversation.
Bradley Chubb.
Do not introduce Melvin Gordon into the conversation. He's not in the conversation.
Bradley Chubb, long shot. Okay.
He's not. What about here's a name that's not going to get brought up because he's not on a roster. Todd Gurley.
Todd Gurley, long fucking shot. He's not getting in.
No.
He's
been better. His peak was better than Gordon's.
Fair. That's fair.
Gordon being brought up was a travesty.
I'm sorry.
I'd rather talk about Philip Lindsay. All right.
Long shot.
Los Angeles Chargers. Keenan Allen. Here's a take. Lock.
Oh.
I think Keenan Allen's a lock. He's got the notoriety. People have been salivating over his route running for the fucking last 10 years. I think he's got the name recognition. I think he's so talked about as an underrated receiver in the NFL that he's legit rated. And I think he's going to be a lock.
I think he's in the AJ Green tier.
No, I think it's better than AJ Green.
I think he might end up in the AJ Green tier.
I don't think so. I think the way they're going to be talking about Keenan Allen as a route runner after 5 years after he retired is going to be Edgar Allan Poe poetic, bro. Like they are going to talk about Keenan Allen's route running like he was the best route runner in the NFL, and like you could argue he has been.
Yeah. Sometimes realize we have the same birthday, me and Keenan, April 27th. Let's go. But he's
delete that from the pod, Quinn. I don't want that comment on the pod.
He's AJ Green tier because
he's better than AJ Green.
Injured a lot early on in his career. He only has 7,397 receiving yards right now for his career. He's 29, so you better play 4 more high-level years to get in, at least.
Derwin, not on pace, hurt, but good,
healthy. What we saw from his rookie, on pace.
I also wouldn't say, because you brought it up, that Tyron Smith, when healthy, was objectively the best tackle in the NFL, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you've said Derwin James, when healthy, is the best safety in the NFL. Yeah. But I don't think people objectively think that.
No, that one's more of a debate, but yeah. I believe it.
No, I'm saying he needs to get to that point, though.
I don't believe it.
He needs to get to that point where, people think,
on the fucking football field.
Yeah, fair. Chris Harris Jr.,
PFF Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's definitely PFF Hall of Fame.
He's not getting the actual Hall of Fame, sadly. Now, should he be? Yeah, he should be. I mean, he was up there with Patrick Peterson.
He's also a friend of the pod.
Rich Sherman and Patrick Peterson probably better candidacies, but he was third over the past decade. Mm-hmm. Legitimate candidacy. Joey Bosa on pace.
Last team here.
For sure.
The Las Vegas Raiders. This is another rough roster.
I was going to say, the name I wrote is almost sad because it was an afterthought free agent signing.
The only other name I even considered here was Colton Miller, just because he's the high pedigree, big payday.
I mean, Richie Incognito has a better candidacy than
I don't know if that's true, but formerly Rodney Hudson. We didn't talk about Rodney Hudson for the Cardinals.
Oh, shit.
I think Rodney Hudson could be a legit
That's on me.
on pace type of player. Maybe even a lock.
Close.
For Raiders, Casey Hayward. I don't even know if Casey Hayward's a lock.
But I don't think Casey Hayward's getting in. Man, it's right up to the best rookie seasons of all time, which was a fun conversation. And I not forgot, but he had the highest coverage grade as a rookie, but he was just a slot. And the Packers then said, okay, yeah, you're just our slot cornerback, and didn't ever try him on the fucking outside.
And that was rough.
I guess they tried him on the outside his fourth year. Then he got hurt. Then they finally tried him on the outside. And he was good, not exceptional, but then goes to the Chargers and is like best cornerback in the NFL from day one. Oh.
They let him walk for nothing too. The money he got from the Chargers was nothing. That was like every single blog's best underrated free agent signing that also came true because he was lights out for the Chargers.
I have one of my favorite articles I ever wrote. It said February 24th, 2016, re-signing Casey Hayward top priority for Packers and free agency. That's the article I wrote.
Rip. Not enough people read it. And you're a part owner of the Packers, too. The fact that you didn't have pull on that is interesting.
Yeah, I know.
This was a fun exercise. I originally doubted it as a fun exercise, but it was fun. I think it was a little high level, a little fluffy, but I had a good time.
Yeah.
The Gabe Jackson probably was my favorite comment, my favorite part of this. And I also think it does help you really.
When Gabe Jackson puts on a gold jacket someday,
I don't know what I'll do, but it'll be absurd.
PFF, all right?
I'm going to get a Gabe Jackson tattoo on my neck.
You're going to have to go work for Pro Football Network.
All right, no more shots at any other networks, please. We're going to the interviews now with Nick Rolovich and Neal Brown, West Virginia and Washington State. Let's get it. Now joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is current Washington State head coach Nick Rolovich. You're a Cali guy. Anytime I get Cali guys on the podcast, I have to bring it up how good the weather is in California. You're from Daly City originally. You also went to Hawaii, so you obviously had some good weather there as well. How's the weather, differ in Washington State and Pullman, Washington there?
Oh, the seasons are much more extreme, right? nice spring, nice summer, nice fall, and then you kind of got to buckle down through winter and enjoy it. But it's it's nice changing up where Hawaii was always, the same and nice. And, I think I'm all about change and seeing enjoying the area that we are living in and respecting it and learning about it and all that. So I've learned a lot about the harvest season and all the stuff going on up here.
That's awesome, man. I remember, I went to San Diego State. The weather was always, that sunny and 75 cliche. You go to Cincinnati. I live in Cincinnati now. You have to actually check your weather app before you leave the house. Like it could be snowing, it could be whatever. So, let's get to Washington State football. I really want to talk specifically to start about the quarterback room, specifically the quarterback competition you have there. Obviously, true sophomore DeLaura, the transfer Jared Guarantano. I know you're still kind of chasing to see reps from all those guys. Have only been in pads for a few days now. What's the update you have from that room and just the talent you have? And I guess speak to the development and the relationships you've grown with DeLaura and Guarantano.
Well, I think you got to throw Cam Cooper in there too. Mm-hmm. It's been a good battle, not consistent enough from anyone. I told him yesterday that, I'm going to be honest with them. I'm probably going to heat up on them tomorrow at the scrimmage and see how they respond to some adversity. Their effort is there. With the expanded training camp with the super seniors, we've been able to do some more two-spot practices where you're able to get some more reps going on, and I think that's been beneficial, especially for our young guys. But they're all very different, and with our offense, that's okay. You can kind of take it and mold it your own way to some extent, and kind of make it your own. Different throws they like, different concepts for zones they like. The accuracy and catchability of the ball and being able to push the ball downfield, giving our guys a chance is important. But they're all battling some guy, but like I said, it's the consistency. Who's going to be the one that can move the ball down the field? Who's the one who, when they look at the huddle, the other 10 guys are going to see belief in their eyes. They're very different. Jarrett's a guy who's been through a lot, played a lot of football, been through a bunch of offenses. I think he's enjoying our style of how we coach. And I think he throws you see his maturity and his game reps in how he deals when pocket breaks down or when those unscripted opportunities come. I think he's been very consistent with good decision making there. Still needs to show some more comfort level within the offense and be consistent with it. Jaden, has played some games for us, has played through the system in high school, has a good feel for what he likes and how to move zone defenders and things like that. We wanted to see him be a higher percentage of off-script plays be positives, and I think he's done that in camp. And also who, for Jaden is how does he deal with adversity? He's won a lot of football games in his life. Probably hadn't lost many since till last year, and so dealing with that as a young guy in a difficult time with COVID and everything was something we wanted to focus on this spring or this fall. Cam Cooper, terrific athlete for the size he is, has really, he was kind of and everyone is in their first year in this deal or first time running it. They're kind of a fish out of water, but he has really grown within the offense. Like I said, they're all a little bit different, but I'm anticipating, being able to use all three. And I think you got to go into a football season thinking that way. Having three quarterbacks you feel like can get it done is, I think, how college football is going. So that's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up, how much or where college football is going. I think another part of it too, and I think I spoke to a handful of coaches that continue to speak to, attacking space, throwing the football. It's a quarterback-driven league, and I think looking at your offense specifically, a lot of 10 personnel looks, which is not unfamiliar to Washington State, also passing at a high volume on early downs. But something I found unique is just kind of the low rate of play action. You're running, I think bottom, 20 play action rates and stuff like that. Obviously, a part of that run and shoot. But what do you feel, what do you feel like you benefit from by limiting kind of the play action rates compared to other offenses? And also, I guess, speak to where you feel the offense is going or where offenses in college football are going. Well,
I think at some point, it probably has its own category, but the RPO element to the offense, in my opinion, has a little bit of that play action element to it.
Effect, for sure.
You know what I mean? And yes, it's not traditional, waggle or boot or something like that, but it has a little bit of that element to it in my mind. So I think when Coach Stutz kind of brought that to the offense, we've gotten better. We've been a little bit more unpredictable, and having that runner pass deal, I think that's basically just a number count, get the blocks right, and get this thing blocked up and see who you're reading. So that's been. I think we've seen it all explode throughout college football. Where it's going, I think you're seeing. And I was talking to some NFL scouts who were out at practice the other day, where'd the Sam linebacker go, right? So where'd the Sam linebacker go? You're not seeing as much. We'll see some in this league, probably more than, but they were talking about in the NFL, that Sam linebacker position is kind of a lost deal, so your higher level of DBs, you're bringing into the program and developing because of where offenses have taken it.
100%. Yeah, definitely. I want to speak to Max Borghi. Obviously didn't have him a ton this past year, only I think one game in 2020 due to injury and obviously the COVID impacted season. And the running back position specifically, even going back to your time in Hawaii, is just such an important component of the passing attack. And Max Borghi, one of the more talented pass catching backs or running backs overall in college football. I guess, how important is it to get Max back healthy and him involved in this offense?
Well, very much so, especially because he's got an opportunity to go to the next level. We want him to have a wonderful year. I think, with the uncertainty at the quarterback position right now, it is probably comforting for the staff to know that they got Max and Dion back there, and Nakia Watson's a transfer that's come in, has done a nice job. But, that element combined with the offensive line, I think that's a good position for us to be in. And we got some young receivers making plays, but Max is so explosive. Everything he does, whether it's rehab or prehab or film study, it's at a real, you hate to say professional level, but I think he does things at a level that will be successful when he moves up.
One more player on the opposite side of the ball, and then I had a few questions defensively. But Abraham Lucas, he's been a guy that has graded really, really well for PFF and PFF system. Also has such a high volume of legitimate, true pass sets. He has been in this offense for a while. You throw the football a ton, and that experience, I think, obviously speaks volumes to just how talented he's been and how successful he's been across a very big sample size. I guess speak to his development at Washington State, and I guess the expectations you have for Lucas this upcoming season.
Well, yeah, definitely seen growth in Abe, who was a wonderful player when we got here, gifted with unbelievable physical ability. I don't think you can mention Abe without mentioning, Liam Ryan, who has also played a lot of football here. Very good leaders of the O-line room, but Abe, incredibly talented, but I think he's really enjoyed the shift in offense. I think it's, challenged him to learn something new. And I think he feels that preparing him better for the next level. You don't see many guys that look like Abe Lucas. With whether it's just the sheer proportion of his body for his weight and height, or it's his effortless athleticism. People. I don't know if we've had 12 scouts come through already camp, and well, that's what they're supposed to look like, Coach. I said, yeah, I know you guys would like him. And the best thing about him is the person he is. He's no nonsense. He's true to who he is, and that's in all facets. And he's very consistent in how he approaches practice every day. It's not, let's get Abe out of his lock. Abe is one of the first guys out there every day. There's a lot of good things, small details that people don't see that make him the player he is, I think.
One more question for you, Coach, and I'll let you go. There's two tandems on the defense side of the ball that I think everyone wants to pay, special attention to. The cornerback position, you got Jalen Watson, Caleb Ford-Dement, and then up front, Ron Stone Jr. and Brennan Jackson, two, the edge players up front. I guess, do you expect those guys to be the clear-cut leaders for that defense? And I guess, how much do you expect this defense to kind of take a step forward with the talent that those players bring in 2021?
Oh, I think a lot. I think we got to get the third down. We got to get to some good third down situations to kind of unleash those guys, those two rushers that you mentioned, plus Willie Taylor. I really like our young edges that are coming up, and the investment they've made. I think RJ and BJ have really taken that room and almost adopted those young edges we got coming in. And, we got to see what those young guys can do early in camp, and they've been so far been impressive. But you look at Jalen Watson, who is, another guy, when you look at him, you can tell that he's got a chance to go. And what he's been through and what he's fought through to get to this point is I don't know many people that, some could do it because they're driven, but he is, I like seeing good things happen to people who fight through and deal with things. And I think he'll be a guy the NFL really likes too. You mentioned Caleb joined us this summer. Made a couple plays yesterday in camp that were awesome. But, I think we've got more depth at the corner position than I've been used to, whether it's Chris Jackson, Shaw Smith, Derek Langford. We've got about 5 or 6 guys we feel good about, and that's a positive going into camp or into the season.
Fantastic stuff, Coach. Really appreciate the time, and I wish you the best of luck this upcoming season.
Thanks, Austin. Appreciate it.
Now joining the 2-for-1 Drafts podcast is current West Virginia head coach Neal Brown. Neal, great to have you on the show. Really appreciate the time.
Glad to do it. Appreciate you having me on.
Yesterday was the first full day of pads. I know you guys were in shells before, and I think you spoke to this in a recent press conference saying you don't really get to see real football until the pads come on. How was yesterday? How was today? How are things progressing? Are you seeing what you want to see? And maybe, do you have any highlights, any specific highlights from the first full days of practice?
Yeah, so the NCAA mandates that you have an acclimatization period. And so yesterday was our first opportunity. It was practice 6, but it was our first opportunity to be in full pads. The first 2 days that you go, you have to be in helmets only, and then you're what we call uppers, which is shoulder pads and helmets only. You're able to have those, and you can tell when you practice in shells, what kind of players certain guys are. What it's really hard, it's hard to evaluate guys when they just have helmets on. And so yesterday, being our first full padded practice, we did a goal line period. We did a red zone. We didn't tackle to the ground. I think you got to be careful because I don't think our guys are ready for that yet. But we did a goal line period. We did an inside run period. We really focused on the physicality piece because you have to do that. You can't just show up in game one and decide, oh, yeah, we're going to be a physical football team. You got to do that, but you got to do it intelligently. And so I would say the highlight yesterday's practice where offensively, I thought the offense, we did a goal line period that the offense won convincingly. And then we did a 2-minute into game scenario that I thought the defense prevailed. So a little bit of give and take was what you want in a fall camp setting. You don't want one side to be dominant.
100%. I would agree with you there. I think another question I have off of that is I think when the pads come out, and I remember this from playing high school football, there's always a handful of guys, the high energy guys that are craving the pads, trying to get aggressive in the first time you really feel football. Do you have any players that stood out from an energy perspective? Did you see a different animal from any of your guys yesterday or the day before?
Well, I think the offensive lineman, our starting center, Zach Frazier, he's a former wrestler. One of our best guys in the weight room. He loves practicing football. He loves football, period, but he loves practicing football, which is even different than loving the games. He loves practicing. And I thought he was extremely physical yesterday. I thought on defense, we've got a defensive end, Tyus Austin, who's been out with an injury over the last 2 years, but he's back in having something taken away from you and then being able to come back and experience it again like he's doing. Because he got hurt in our our second game in 2019, missed all 19, was only able to play 2 games last year once he came back from an Achilles injury. He's got sheer joy practicing, and that's contagious. Those 2 guys probably are what sticks out to me, one from each side of the ball.
You bring up offensive line. Was it the first opportunity you got to see Doug Nestor, the transfer there along the offensive line, him in pads? How has that development been? How's that relationship you've had with him grown?
Well, he's been here since January, so we went through spring, and he's more comfortable than he was at any point during the spring. We think he's got the capabilities of being a high-level Big 12 offensive lineman. He's definitely a big piece for us. His home's here in West Virginia. We didn't get here in time to really recruit him out of high school, but when we went in the portal, we were extremely excited about the opportunity to get him back home and playing for the Mountaineers, and he's excited about it, and he's ready to resume his career, and he's going to be extremely productive for us.
All right, let's draw a spotlight to the quarterback, Jarrett Doege, a guy that has graded really well in PFF system over the years, a guy that I think can develop into one of the premier signal callers in the Big 12. I guess, what would you say the next step for him is, and what are your expectations for him in 2021? Discuss kind of his development and the relationship you've grown or had with him over the years.
Well, he's 8-5 as a starter here. He started 13 games here, and he's 8-5, and most of those wins have been Big 12 wins. And so he's done that with in 19, the 3 games he started, we struggled up front, struggled mightily to run the football. And then in 2020, we started 3 true freshmen and a sophomore on the offensive line. And then we've played either first or second year guys at receiver, and we've had a high drop percentage at that position. So he's won 8 games, and outside of Letty Brown, our starting running back, has been his only consistent help. Mm-hmm. And so we're much improved up front. We returned all 3 of the freshmen that started last year. We signed one of the top offensive tackles in the country in Wyatt Milam, who's, again, a West Virginia guy. He'll be able to contribute early. We have a kid that we redshirted last year in Jordan White that is going to be a heavy contributor for us. And then Doug Nestor, who you've already talked about. So our offensive line is going to be better. We have more depth at running back behind Letty Brown. Our tight ends have improved. And then our receivers, I think that going into year 3 for most of them playing, I think consistency is the word for them. And I really believe that they will be more consistent. So the better we are around him is going to make him better because he's been efficient. He didn't turn the football over. Last year we won games because of our defense, and we didn't turn the football over. And that's a credit to him. And now he's more accurate. He's changed his body. His pocket movement's better. And I have high aspirations for him here in 2021.
Yeah, situation is so important at the collegiate level. I'm glad you spoke to the receiving core. I want to talk a little bit about the depth you have at that position for Wheaton, Reese Smith, Sam Brown. But here at PFF, we are massive fans of Winston Wright. We feel he could be a legit number one for this West Virginia offense and a name to know in college football. I'd love to hear kind of what you have planned for him from a usage standpoint. He's a unique player and what he can bring to the table. How do you plan on using him effectively and getting him his touches? And I guess overall expectations for Winston Wright.
Yeah, my expectations are extremely high for him. We're going to get him the ball in a bunch of different ways offensively. We're going to use him in both aspects of the return game. He's got the opportunity. He's added weight and strength has come with that, but also more explosiveness. And I think he's going to be able to break tackles at a higher pace than he did a year ago. I agree. I think he is primed to be one of the better receivers in our conference, and I'm excited for his growth. He showed flashes last year. And again, like the rest of our group, he's got to be more consistent. But his daily actions say that he is going to be. He's been really good in our winter program, really good in our summer program. He was our best receiver clearly throughout spring ball. And he's had a good fall camp up to this point. So my expectations for him are high, but also his teammates and his own personal expectations are high too. And he's paid the price.
You're a former receiver yourself. I talked to PJ Fleck about this and other former receivers that are now college coaches about what they feel is coachable at the wide receiver position. I guess where you could see receivers improve the most at the collegiate and NFL level, and then what are those aspects of the receiver position that are uncoachable, things that you need naturally. I know athleticism is a part of that, size and these things, but what do you feel are most coachable or most those attributes or those characteristics at the receiver position where you can most improve? I know you speak a ton to consistency off the field and on the field, but when you're approaching coaching a wide receiver, where do you feel like there's so much opportunity to improve these guys?
Well, I think there's opportunities to improve everything outside of length. Okay. What we try to focus on a lot early on, especially, is your initial burst, your ball get off, your stance to start, your initial push off the ball, because that is so important. If you run a 4.5 or you run a 4.4, you run a 4.7, you need to be at full speed at your very beginning. And that's where you want to threaten people's space, okay? Because you think about what's a defensive back's job. If you wanted to do it just real quick, just keep the ball in front of them, right? And so if you want to threaten them, you got to be able to push off the ball. So I think that's something we spend a lot of time on. Catching the football is something that I think you can go maybe from below average to average or average to good or good to great. I don't know if you go below average to great, okay? We spend a lot of time with hand placement and not in having your feet in the ground catching the football. Those two aspects are coachable. And then the route running piece, I don't know, you'll get more explosive as you get stronger. But are you going to – can you coach like being able to burst away from somebody? I would probably say not. But what you can do is you can teach all the tactics that allow you to win at what we call the junction point, which is when the defense is trying to engage and you're trying to disengage. So you can teach and coach those aspects of how to win at that junction point. And so that hopefully that answers your question, but those are some generalities on things I think you're coaching. And the bottom line is I think you can improve on everything outside of just natural length.
Yeah, that absolutely answered my question. That's fantastic. A couple questions on the defense side of the ball, and I'll let you go, Coach. Really appreciate the time. We're pretty stoked to see year two of Alonzo Ade. Obviously transferred from New Hampshire, had decent success, or at least immediate success, even with a COVID-impacted offseason this past year. Projected starter for this West Virginia defense, a projected leader for this defense. I guess, I keep asking expectations for these players, but Ade, I think he has a real opportunity to take a significant year two jump in the Big 12.
Yeah, Alonzo. First of all, he was drafted he's a Canadian guy. He was drafted for the CFL. He came back. He's a super senior, one of the few super seniors we have, but he came with the intention of stacking years. He had a great year one here, and we fully expect him to have an even better year in year two. He's one of our leaders. He probably is the leader in the secondary, one of our leaders overall defensively and as far as our entire team is concerned. Extremely heady player. He's a solid tackler, former corner, so he understands coverage skills. He communicates. He's the one that gets all our guys aligned in the back end. He was productive too, and he's got great energy. Again, when we talk about energy, I always talk about being contagious, and his energy is contagious. And we do. We believe he can be an all-conference player, and I thought he played at that level last year, and I think he'll continue to do that.
I also want to talk about Jordan Leslie, defensive coordinator there. I think we saw West Virginia top 20 defense in EPA per play allowed, or I guess defensive efficiency. He's the guy that you brought over from Troy. Him already having the impact he's had on this defense and in the Big 12, I think has surprised people. Obviously earned that contract extension recently as well. What specifically or what uniqueness does Leslie bring to the defense side of the ball that, I guess, brought that vote of confidence in that contract extension? What you feel like has allowed him to hit the ground running?
Well, he's surrounded by a great group of assistant coaches and support staff on the defense side of the ball, and I think he'd be the first one to say that. The communication and them working together is at a high level. We've got good players, which is the second thing you'd say. We got good players. But just talking about Jordan in particular, he's got experience at all three levels of the defense. He's been in this system both as a graduate assistant and as a position coach, multiple positions, and now as a coordinator. And one thing that we always talk about from a leadership perspective, he has expertise in the system. He knows the answers, and people always talk about this as far as football is it's one thing to know the scheme, but you got to know what your problems are. And he does understand what the problems are and how to get them fixed in game situations. I think he's extremely humble and he's a great teacher. And on top of that, he relates well with the guys. They enjoy playing with him, or playing for him and playing with, or allowing him to coach them. And so I think that, is a lot of the reasons behind the success he had last year and the success he'll continue to have in his career.
Coach, really appreciate the time. This has been fantastic. It was great to meet you and have you on the show. We'll have to make our way out to West Virginia because I need to get at one of these games. Stadium, no one in the stands last year. We got fans in the stands this year. We'll have to make it out for a game.
Yeah, you better get here early enough to tailgate and expect to stay a while after the game because tailgating experience, I've been told, I haven't been able to do it. So they try to frown upon that if you do that before the game. But our game days are special, and you're welcome to come. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's going to do it for this episode of 2-for-1 Drafts. Make sure you tune in to the rebrand. August 23rd, one more week of shows on 2-for-1 Drafts, then we rebrand to the new name, the new colors, the new everything. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're super excited for this college football season. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Always our producers, Mike Quinn and Max Chadwick, Mike Renner, Austin Gayle, 2-for-1 Drafts.